Have you ever woken up one morning and felt like the world forgot you existed? That's exactly how Arman felt. He wasn't in pain the way people imagine. There were no tears, no heartbreak, no big tragedy. Just a quiet emptiness that grew heavier every single day, a kind of silence that screamed inside him. Every morning, his alarm rang, and he stared at the ceiling for a few extra seconds, wondering why he should even get up. He had a job, yes, but it didn't excite him. He had friends, but they were busy chasing dreams he didn't understand anymore. Even his hobbies, painting, music, long walks, now felt meaningless. It was as if life had turned into a loop: wake up, pretend, repeat. One evening, he sat by his apartment window, watching city lights flicker. Each window across the street told a story: families laughing, couples cooking, kids doing homework. And there he was, alone with a cup of cold coffee, feeling like an unfinished sentence. He thought, maybe I missed something. Maybe I'm the only one who doesn't know how to live. That thought followed him for days. On his way to work, in crowded buses, even while scrolling through his phone, seeing everyone else smiling, traveling, celebrating. It made him feel invisible, like a spectator in his own life. Then, one cold evening, when the loneliness became unbearable, Arman went for a walk. The streets were quiet, the air heavy with the smell of rain. He sat on an empty park bench and whispered to himself, what's the point of all this? And that's when he heard a voice beside him. Son, said an old man sitting next to him, his hands trembling as he poured tea from a thermos. The tea tastes best when it's not too hot, not too cold. Life's the same. Arman looked at him, confused but curious. The old man smiled faintly. When life's too easy, we forget to grow. When it's too hard, we forget to hope. Somewhere in the middle, that's where meaning hides. Arman didn't know it yet, but those simple words were about to change everything. That night, Arman couldn't sleep. The old man's words echoed in his mind. Somewhere in the middle, that's where meaning hides. He didn't know why, but something deep inside him stirred. Maybe it was hope, maybe curiosity, or maybe, for the first time in a long time, he simply wanted to feel something again. The next morning, he did something unusual. He left his phone on the table, put on his worn-out sneakers, and stepped outside. No destination, no plan, just a quiet walk. The air was crisp, the world unusually calm. Without the constant buzz of notifications and noise, he could finally hear the world again. He noticed things he had forgotten to see: the soft crunch of leaves under his feet, the smell of freshly baked bread from a corner shop, the laughter of school kids running past him. It wasn't happiness exactly, but a gentle reminder that life was still happening around him, with or without his permission. As he walked, he passed by a small community center. A poster on the gate caught his eye. Volunteers needed. Help feed the homeless. He stopped. His mind instantly said, what difference would it make? But his heart, that quiet, tired heart, whispered, maybe this is your middle. Without thinking too much, he walked in. The room smelled of soup and warmth. People moved around with smiles, handing out meals and blankets. A woman looked up and asked, first time? He nodded shyly. Here, she said, handing him a ladle, start with the soup. That evening, Arman felt something he hadn't felt in years: purpose. Not the kind that comes from success or recognition, but from giving. As he served a bowl of soup to an old man with trembling hands, the man smiled and said softly, thank you, son. You don't know how much this means. Arman's throat tightened. For the first time, he realized meaning isn't found in grand achievements. It's hidden in the small, quiet acts of kindness we often overlook. That night, he wrote in his journal, greater than, maybe life isn't supposed to be perfect. Maybe it's just meant to be shared. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. What started as one small act of volunteering became a rhythm in Arman's life. Every evening after work, he'd show up at the community center, serving meals, listening to stories, laughing with people who had once felt forgotten by the world. Something inside him was changing, quietly but deeply. The emptiness that used to sit heavy on his chest was now replaced with warmth. Not the loud, temporary kind that fades overnight, but the steady, grounding warmth that comes from doing something meaningful. He started painting again, not to post online, not to impress anyone, just for himself. His brush no longer painted sadness, it painted truth. He captured wrinkled smiles, street sunsets, and faces filled with gratitude. Each stroke felt like stitching back a torn piece of his soul. One afternoon, while cleaning his room, Arman found his old journal, the one filled with hopeless words. He opened it and read his own handwriting. What's the point? He smiled softly. For the first time, he had an answer. The following Sunday, he returned to the same park bench, the place where everything had begun. And there he was again, the old man, with his familiar thermos of tea and a gentle smile. Arman hurried toward him. Sir, you probably don't remember me, he said, breathless, but your words, they changed my life. The old man chuckled. Of course I remember you. You looked like someone standing at the edge, waiting for life to push you forward. Arman nodded, eyes glistening. I was. But now, I've learned something. Life doesn't push us. It waits for us to move. The old man smiled and poured him a cup of tea. Then you've learned what most people never do. The flower doesn't bloom because the world watches, it blooms because that's what it's meant to do. Arman looked at the horizon, the sky melting into gold. For the first time, he didn't feel small. He felt part of something bigger. And in that quiet moment, he understood, life was never pointless. It was simply waiting for him to participate. Dash dash dash.